My honor and privilege to be here with Rabbi Dov Linzer, the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Chovevei Torah, the rabbinical school I'm very grateful to have attended and studied very closely with Rabbi Linzer. So thanks for taking time to talk.
Sure, it's great to be here.
And I'm excited and energized by this news that you've taken over the leadership of Yeshiva. First, I'm wondering, what does that mean? I mean, are you the president of the Yeshiva?
Well, I've taken the presidential responsibilities, and I am now not just the head of the yeshiva in terms of the students and the staff and the Torah that's being taught, but also the more public leadership role. But I specifically didn't want to do it with the title president. I think it's important that a yeshiva be headed by a Rosh Yeshiva. You know, that our vision and our direction and our values are shaped fundamentally by Torah and mitzvot, and that's our anchor. And that's really the type of leadership that I'm bringing to the yeshiva.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so from within that place, what are some of the issues and challenges you see as most pressing today?
Yeah.
And what do you see as a vision emerging from those challenges today?
Well, if I think broadly in terms of the modern Orthodox community, we have a lot of challenges. Day school tuition is a huge one. Kids are attrition and not always staying within a life of Torah and mitzvos. But I think, speaking more generally, to me what I see as a major challenge is that people are feeling alienated, bored, not inspired, and Orthodoxy does a great deal for people. Sometimes people critique social orthodoxy. There's a lot of value in social orthodoxy. The structure gives people a sense of place, of belonging. It holds them, a community. Nowadays, people are dealing with such a profound issue of existential aloneness. Tradition, continuity. Those are critical components. But when the social orthodoxy isn't also engaged orthodoxy, when there's not a message that's resonating with people, that's giving people a sense of why am I doing this? How should I be directing my life? How is Torah and Mitzvah speaking to me in all areas? How's it inspiring me? What direction am I going in? I think that leads to a lot of boredom and alienation. I think that has to do with some of the challenges in terms of attrition. So I think that my vision going forward, and what I really think the yeshiva has always been about and will continue to be about, is to be teaching Torah and mitzvot in a way that is obviously first and foremost about a life of Shmirat Mitzvot and a life of Talmud Torah, but that understands that it's part of Avodas Hashem, and it's part of serving Klal Yisrael, and it's part of making the Jewish community better, and it's part of making the world a better place. We're about to be a Parshas Lech Lecha, and there is the most beautiful Sfas Emes on Lech Lecha. He says, why is it that God called Avraham? There's no pre-story, out of the blue. It seems like God called Avraham. The Torah isn't telling that. Why, of all people, did God say to Avraham, Lech Lecha? What the Sfas Emes says is, he says, God didn't just say to Avraham, Lech Lecha. God said Lech Lecha to the whole world. Avraham was the only one who heard it. And he says, every day, God is saying Lech Lecha. And the question is, are we hearing it? And I think that if we educated our children, in terms of that, yes, you do a life of Torah mitzvahs, but God is calling to you, Lech Lecha, and you have to hear that. And your Lech Lecha is going to be different than somebody else's, but you have to hear, where is my Avodas Hashem, and where's Torah and mitzvahs telling me where I have to go, how I have to go. And in that way, it will infuse our lives, and it will speak deeply to people's hearts.
Right, so I love that. There's both the centrality of Torah mitzvot, and there's also this plurality to how we'll all have different callings, so to speak, to how to manifest our own Jewish lives, our own halachic lives within the world.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think sometimes when people are given a very specific Lech Lecha and it's put on their heads, and they're like, this isn't for me, so either they go through the motions or they completely reject, right? But I think that exactly, almost and the Sfas Emes is saying this, a postmodern Lech Lecha is within the context of life in Torah and mitzvos. You hear your Lech Lecha, and God, what's your tafkid in life? And we just don't talk about that in the modern Orthodox community.
And I think one of the greatest spiritual vehicles we have is the power of brachot. That throughout the day, at least 100 brachot, wherever we go, we are trying to sanctify what we're doing. That Torah and mitzvot are about life. It's not about just shul.
Right.
It's about everything we think about and engage with in whatever career we enter, or whatever type of lifestyle we choose within this framework, that Torah is about everything, and that we can bring Kedusha into all dimensions of life. And I think that pervasive approach can be inspiring, to awaken ourselves.
Absolutely, but the problem is when things all get just translated into halacha.
Right.
So the brachot become a. I'd like to find what percentage of the community has brachot as an inspiring moment of their day. Well, as opposed to that's the halacha, bar ph, whatever, check.
Right.
Oh, does peanut brittle get a dama? Does it get a shahako?
Yeah.
And those are of course important halachic questions, but they become so halachicized that when Chazal basically said, which is exactly what they did, with no Beit HaMikdash, where do we find God?
Right.
And they say we find God in Tefillah, we find God in Torah, and we find God in everything that we do, and we sanctify what we do, and that's exactly what the brachot are.
Yeah.
We have lost touch with that religious message.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful. So a big part of this modern Orthodox message, or at least the part that seems to be loudest in the world, has been about this expansive inclusiveness. Whether we're talking about our relationship to Gentiles, our relationship to Jews of other denominations, whether we're talking about women's inclusivity or inclusivity of converts, our more fervent relationship with Israel, social justice and trying to repair the world and society. I think that is the way many understand what modern Orthodoxy is about, and I wonder how does that more expansive, inclusive version of Orthodoxy fit into this broader framework of Torah mitzvot you're thinking about? Yeah.
Well, first I'll say, I wish more everybody would understand that that's what modern Orthodoxy is about. I think it's the type of vision of modern Orthodoxy that the Yeshiva deeply believes in, and Baruch Hashem, I think our young people deeply believe in. And it's exactly in line with this, because if all your focus is, somebody once said that, what are people looking for in religion? Are they are they dwellers or are they seekers? Or it's like the issue of the Mishkan, that we have all this effort of building the Mishkan, but then does the Mishkan move? Or, so how much, if all it's about is about the structures and not about a sense of purpose, of religious direction, of finding God, then all of your energy is going to be in protecting and maintaining those structures, even if sometimes they become devoid of meaning, right? But if you're understanding that those structures are your base, but ultimately they project, a much larger vision out there, and you care about what's my vision for Klal Yisrael, what's my vision for the world, you're going to want to have as broad of a vision as possible, right? To bring people in. Who are the people that are not coming to my show? Who are the people that are, because I'm so focused on the structures, are hearing that they're not wanted, right? Who are the people that I'm not connecting to because I am just only focused on the issues of my community? So again, I want to be clear. Our primary responsibility, it's like, your responsibility starts at home. And I think that any rabbi, needs to start and to create the foundation for their community, right? Minyanim, Torah shiurim, teaching halacha. But after that foundation is built, right? If your vision is a more expansive one, then you want to be bringing in as much people as possible. You want to be connecting with as much people as possible. You want to be having as big of an impact as possible.
Right. And so this expansive vision of working to be more inclusive, what pushes us in that direction from Torah and mitzvot? Because one could live an observant life and only be reactive. Oh, there's a crisis now, there's feminism emerged. Oh, there's a crisis, there's people suffering, and now I got to respond to it. As opposed to proactively saying part of Torah and mitzvot is going out. So what do you think is the vehicle that pushes us in that direction to be more expansive?
The vehicle that pushes us, I think that part of the challenge we've had is that we haven't had the freedom or the opportunity to do it. In the Torah, we're given all these mitzvot, but the purpose of the mitzvot is not to go ahead and live them at Har Sinai or live them in the desert, right? The purpose of the mitzvot are you bring them into Eretz Yisrael and you build a country that has all those laws, but that is informed by all the values and that is given life by all of what the Torah is about. Over a long period of Galus, right, where we did not have freedom, we could build our own little enclaves, in our steebles, but we had limited ability to bring it out on a broader arena. So in those cases, So that's why really the focus very much was on protecting and building the structure and maintaining the structure. Jewish survival, was the primary concern for 2,000 years. So in Israel, they don't need this message, because in Israel, they have the freedom, they have the creativity, they have a society that they are building. The from people see, of course, part of my role is to bring Torah into the society and to bring my values, and it's not only through shiurim, the Ma'aleh Film School, through all different types of art and creativity and song. So in America, though, we have the opportunity. We don't have the majority culture, but we do have, and that constrains us a little bit. But I think we haven't seized that opportunity. And I think that when people talk too much about Torah Umada, it's not the right message. Because Torah Umada, the old discourse about Torah Umada used to be, am I allowed to engage in the larger world, learn from secular studies, or is it forbidden, or at best, it's a mitzvah to learn, to engage. But even that was ultimately, what can I take? What am I allowed to take, right? As opposed to the question about, Torah and the world. I'd rather talk about than Torah and Mada. Torah and the Jewish community, Torah and the Orthodox community, right? What does Torah demand of me, and what does the larger world, through a Torah lens, demand of me?
To give.
Right, and again, I think that I don't want, our primary responsibility is our own community. But, people who are hearing the fact that there's immigrants who are, there's a whole immigrant crisis going on. People who are hearing the fact that there are, that even in their own community, people living in assisted living, and what are they doing to help them out, and how are they in a position to help, right? Those are the voices, those are the lech lechas that are calling to us. Our kids who are getting alienated, and the disenfranchised, the marginalized, right? So all of that has to be, a really a central question is not just what can I take from the world, right? It's like, what does the larger world, in all of its complexity, what is it calling to me and demanding of me to give as a citizen of the world? What is my responsibility to the larger world?
So you've talked about how you've moved into the leadership role for Yeshiva, and I wonder, Chovevei is very well known for having professionalized the Orthodox rabbinate very powerfully, and I witnessed that myself. And I wonder what some new things are that are going on over there.
Well, thank you for asking. We've done a great job in terms of really professionalizing the Orthodox rabbinate, bringing pastoral counseling as a primary, understanding that it is a primary role of a rabbi, and having it extremely robust. I will, in all humility, say that it's the best of all rabbinical schools, in terms of the pastoral counseling, and other people are, adopting pieces of it, but we obviously are, far and ahead. But beyond that, we started this year two or three really important initiatives. One relates to Israel engagement, and I think that nowadays there is talking about one of the things that's calling to us from the larger world as American rabbis. There is a huge and growing chasm between American Jewry outside of the Orthodox community and Israel, right? It is just, and especially with the young people, but it has, what has happened in the last 10 years in terms of that rift is enormous. And within the Orthodox community, also, how can they, they're, God, Baruch Hashem, fervent supporters of the state of Israel, but how can they also understand the problems with this rift and what they can do sort of as part of a larger world Jewry to mend this? So I think that our rabbis are in a unique position to give leadership and to give a Torah voice to this. And so one of the things that the Yeshiva is doing is we are entered into a number of partnerships, one with ICON in Chicago and one with iEngage, which is part of the Hartman Institute in New York. And those are two institutes that do different aspects of training for Israel engagement, training leaders and educators for Israel engagement. And they are doing some special programming that we've arranged, and a really exciting partnership. And throughout the year, we're going to be doing different components that's bringing the full complexity, and not politics. I mean, yes, politics, but not just politics. I mean, the culture, the music, the literature, everything that is going on, so that our rabbis can really be prepared to provide real leadership in terms of a nuanced and subtle Israel engagement that is one that, allows for there to be a real conversation. So that's number one. Number two, I would say, is that it is a super exciting partnership that we're doing with NYU, and we have partnered with major university NYU to do a certificate program in entrepreneurial rabbining, and they are bringing in like world-class educators and leadership people who do leadership training. And both in the Jewish field and in the general field. And our students, all of our students, get this, all of our students are going to effectively be NYU students. They're going to have NYU ID card, access to all of the NYU facilities. And at the end, they're going to get a degree from NYU. Not like a BA, but a certificate degree in entrepreneurial, spiritual leadership. And part of the challenge is that how are you an entrepreneur in the context of a deep tradition, right? So and not everybody is sort of some people are the entrepreneurs that they're going out there, like thank God we have some rabbis like yourself, other rabbis who are doing out, the base and these types of shuls that are reaching people and other, that building them up from scratch and connecting to people that otherwise would never be connected, right? But then there's what they call like intrapreneurs, that you work in a system, in a mono-Orthodox shul, in a mono-Orthodox school, but like what can you do to reinvigorate it? What can you do to breathe life into it? And how do you operate within that type of a system? So we're super excited about that. That's going to be kicking off in a few weeks.
Just a word about that. I heard, I don't remember the exact stats, but I heard something recently that something like more than half of the institutions that are going to exist in the community in 20 years from now don't exist yet.
Wow, right? That's an amazing way of thinking about it.
That actually we have to rethink a lot of how we're going to deliver what we want to deliver. Yes, that's fantastic.
And I think the third one, which in a way is, you see a part of that in the Israel engagement I was talking to you, is about modeling respectful discourse and dialogue.
Wonderful.
Rabbi Aryeh Clapper, who's well known, he's the head of the Center of Modern Torah Leadership in Boston. He comes in every other week, and we do a compare and contrast. So we discuss different halachic issues on a panel, he and myself, and we bring in other people, and we debate them. We disagree with one another, but it's deeply rooted in the sources. It's with a reflection on halachic methodology, a reflection on values, a reflection on community, and students have modeled for them not just what it means to be a responsible rabbi and a responsible posek, but also what it means to respectfully disagree and respectfully debate.
Are you saying the discourse in America today isn't healthy? And the discourse in Orthodoxy today isn't healthy?
God forbid. God forbid. We do tend to close ourselves in our own bubble, and I want to say something about this.
How to be Rodfei Emet and Rodfei Shalom. To be fighting for truth and justice, but also be pursuing peace and relationship building. Learning happens relationally. So,
absolutely. I want to say, sometimes there's an arrogance on the left that the left is like, we're open and we're whatever. The right doesn't, they're the ones that are closed. Whereas it's just as likely, if not more, that the left also lives in their own bubble, only wants to hear their own voices, doesn't want to hear other voices. So a year ago on Parshas Noach, I gave maybe it was 2 years ago, I gave a sichat Yeshiva, because the phrase that that a lot is often trumpeted is "Sein min hateva," right? Leave the ark. So a classic, I would guess, modern Orthodox drasha about that is you can't just be in your own cloistered environment, or you can't just live your life in Kola the whole time. You have to go out, you have to serve community, you have to be in the larger world, So what I said to the students was, well, you could say, you have to be open to outside ideas, that would maybe, but what I said to students is like, I need to tell, those of you for whom this is relevant and like parts of our community, say mina teva from your liberal teva. How much are we closed up in our own art? So I said like we only read the same newspapers, we only do whatever. So I have to tell you, so I had to live up to my own words. So I have a subscription to the New York Times, and some people, I just love the writing, so I can't give that up. But after I gave the Sikha, I took out a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, so that I should get both of them, and I should hear both voices, So I think that really being able to welcome, encourage, it makes us all more honest, it makes us all more nuanced, and it makes us all, as you said, understanding the value of shalom and disagreement and diversity within that, And I
just find, even outside of political, in my Torah views, when I read non-Orthodox thinkers, my ideas are sharpened. When I read Haredi thinkers, my ideas are sharpened. I just think that being open to learning from all sides, and I think that has to happen in dialogue, not just in reading. So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Those are wonderful programs. So I think my last question for you is, how are we putting Torah out? Well, I know you're thinking a lot about Torah. You're putting a lot of Torah out. How is some of that being disseminated, and how's it getting out there?
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we for many years, now 8.5 years, I've been teaching the Daf Yomi, and it's been on iTunes and YouTube, and now I have the whole cycle. So some people have begun to realize, like, I don't have to be learning the Daf to be listening to it. If you're on any Daf Gemara and you want to hear a shir from me, and thank God there's been very positive feedback. People I can really appreciate the way I'm able to phrase it and so on. So you can go up to our website. You can get any Daf Gemara you can have me on, except the ones that I gave on Shabbos and Yom Tov. I have to fill those gaps. But we're doing a lot of new initiatives as well. Well, the other thing I should say, is that also a Parsha sheet. For many years I've been writing a Parsha sheet. I don't always have a chance to write a new one. Sometimes it's a little rerun. I tell people, I'm a very green rabbi because 80% of all my material is recycled. So, anyway, but also, that's a type of, by the way, as opposed to like the anchoring in the, serious shas and posting of the Daf Yomi, people tell me that the Parsha sheet really expresses the type of a powerful religious vision that resonates to them, and it connects to some of the issues that we were talking about before. So those are things that have been out there, but we're doing a lot of new things now, both in terms of content and in terms of the ways of distributing it. So we just started some new podcasts. Dr. Michelle Friedman, who heads our amazing Pastoral Counseling program, together with Dr. Rachel Yehuda, who is a regular teacher in the Pastoral Counseling, started a new podcast called Pastoral Parsha, where they look at the Parsha through a pastoral lens. They talk about Bereshit, about the Tower of Babel, the power of naming things in a therapeutic context, about Noah, about sort of surviving tragedy and loss. And the debate and the discussion is great. That gets to the modeling of multiple voices and of debate that I was talking about. I started with Abigail Pogrebin, who is a Reformed, she says she doesn't like labels, but she goes to a Reformed synagogue, Jewish author of books, reporter, and we've known each other for many years, and we are now doing a podcast on Tablet Magazine called Parshin Progress, where we also debate and discuss and bring our different viewpoints to it. And I'll just mention one or two others. Coming up are two exciting ones. One that we're going to be starting beginning of November called Igros Moshe A to Z. And what I'm going to do is 3 times a week for 10 minutes at a time, do a Tshuva of Rav Moshe. Not read the whole thing inside, but do a Tshuva of Rav Moshe, and we're going to go through the alphabet. So the first week it's going to be on America, A. The next week it's going to be on birth control. The week after that it's going to be on conversion. So you will get a sense of the wide range of the topics. Here 3 Tshuvot. So that's going to be something. And we have something called Covenant Communities, where we actually have bring in lay leaders from different communities to learn with us. We produce amazing material for them to go and then to enable them to be Torah teachers in their communities, organize learning groups, and we are going to start making that available to the larger public. So we're going to be doing a podcast of talking about, and the whole topics that sort of are discussed in these are really engaging modern issues, contemporary issues, through the lens of Torah. And that I just don't hear done enough. Again, it has to do with there's too much just total halachicization of everything. So, like, if somebody wants to engage a modern issue through the lens of Torah, I heard somebody write, well, what would be the halacha in the case of, this thing? Who would be, if there's an oil spill, who's liable to pay for it, And it's like, okay, that's an interesting, legal question, and it's an important halachic question. But where are the larger religious and moral values that are being discussed, and how do you bring Torah into that conversation? So that's really what we're teaching in the Yeshiva, and that's so much of what this is about, and that's also going to be a podcast coming up. So
wonderful.
Stay tuned. Last thing, I'm sorry.
Yes, please,
Good.
No,
it's
great. No, let's hear more.
No, but I'll just say one last thing. Is we've been publishing a lot of Qvot under the Lindenbaum Center. And talking again about multiple voices. Last year we started Lindenbaum Scholars, where we have major poskim in the non-Orthodox community. Rav David Bigman, Rav Yuval Sherlow, Michal Tukashinsky, and myself, Rabbi Aryeh Clapper, and we worked on a theme, each one doing a different tshuva, and we were in conversation with one another. So the theme there was about fertility issues. And we've published a tshuva about single men having a baby, single women having a baby, a lot of different types of, about Rabbi Clapper wrote on dealing with Chumad Rebbe Zeir, halachic infertility, and what type of latitude there was there. And we're going to be continuing that this year with a new theme. I think the theme will be disability. Stay tuned. But again, it's about not just making the Torah available, but making the multiple voices of Torah available.
Right, beautiful. Wow. Well, I have so much hakaras hatov to you. I've shared with Rabbi Weiss and I've shared with you and others before that had Chovaveh not existed today, I probably wouldn't have gone into the rabbinate because I needed to be something more than what was offered. I wanted to live a path of coming closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu, of living tefillah, coming closer in prayer, of learning Torah fervently, of living Torah, and as part of that Torah vision, wanted to ensure we were expanding women's leadership and wanted to ensure that we bring more inclusive to the LGBTQ community and wanted to see that we were engaging with Reform and conservative colleagues, with deep respect, and wanted to see that we were engaged in social justice work in society. And I felt like this is a yeshiva that not only tolerated it, but really supported us finding our identity and finding our voice to bring our Torah out into the world. And you have been a model of that, of both fervency in our learning and our shmirot mitzvot, but also, and as part of that manifestation, fervent in finding our unique voices and going out to impact the Klal Yisrael and the world in our own way.
Thank you. I mean, and all those things you mentioned are core values of the yeshiva, and they all emerge from what I was talking about earlier, from that sense that after you have that base and that structure of Torah and mitzvot, of minyanim, of kashrus, and whatever, then you have to hear that voice of that Lech Lecha. You have to see, my community shouldn't just look monolithic. We should be diverse communities. It should be welcoming communities. It should be it should be an expansive Orthodoxy, an expansive one that brings joy and meaning, not one that holds people back. So and you have heard your Lech Lecha. Your Lech Lecha has had maybe a broader scope than a lot of people's Lech Lechas. A lot of ours, Musmachim's Lech Lechas are within the context of their modern Orthodox shul or of their, of their school. But everybody is hearing their Lech Lecha and living a life of Torah and of leadership that emerges from Torah, and that is true to Torah and that calls on them to be serving Ribono Shel Olam and serving the larger world and serving the larger community.
So we give the bracha to everyone that we should continue to see the sparks of Kedusha everywhere that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has planted in the world, and continue to do our work to elevate those sparks, to bring Torah mitzvot to the world, and to refine our characters in the process.
Amen.
Should be so much liach in your continued work at Chovaveh. Thank you so much.
Wonderful to be here.